You ever get on a roller coaster, you lock in the safety harness, and then you suddenly wonder if today's the day that it fails? If not, congratulations. But if you have, you've probably seen Final Destination 3, the movie that traumatized all kids around the world of getting on roller coasters, like myself. What's up everybody, I'm Keelan, this is Kill the Credits, and today we're strapping in for my review of Final Destination 3. If you're new here, my channel is dedicated to all things horror. Movies, discussions, reviews, deep dives, you name it. So if that's your vibe, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the conversations. So, this is part 3 of my Final Destination franchise review series, which I've been doing as the lead up to the release of Final Destination Bloodlines. If you haven't already seen my reviews for the first 2 movies, go ahead and click the card up above and check those out first. And as always, spoiler warning, these movies have been out for quite some time now, so I will be going into a little bit more detail than I typically would for a more recently released movie. But if you don't mind spoilers, or you just need a refresher on what's gone on in the franchise thus far, stick around because this video is definitely for you. Alright, hands and feet inside the vehicles, people. It's time to break down Final Destination 3. So this time around, our protagonist is Wendy Christensen, played by the great Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She's your typical high school senior, just trying to survive till graduation and get the hell out of town. That is, until she has a horrifying vision of a roller coaster catastrophe. The ride derails, people are thrown off like ragdolls, and bodies get absolutely obliterated. Of course, classic Final Destination, Wendy panics, she gets off the ride, dragging a couple of the people on the ride with her, and then the premonition turns out to be 100% accurate. So everyone who stayed on the ride, including her boyfriend, dies. And the survivors now have front row seats to Death's latest comeback tour. And then what follows is Final Destination in its most purest form. Gruesome, creative kills, increasing paranoia, and the slow realization that there is no escape from death. And just like the other ones, in this one we get a cool little twist. Clues hidden in some photographs. Wendy discovers that the photos taken on the night of the accident contains hints about how each survivor will meet their end. It's really a small but clever addition to the story that makes for some fun foreshadowing and really intense moments. Real quick, let's go ahead and talk about the cast of Final Destination 3 because it's pretty good. Like I mentioned before, we have Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Wendy Christensen. Wendy is one of the franchise's best lead roles, and I feel like that comes down to Mary Elizabeth Winstead and her portrayal. She actually brings some depth to the role. She's not just the final girl, but she's actually pretty smart, resourceful, and completely unraveling under the pressure of her guilt. Winstead does a great job balancing fear, frustration, and determination, making Wendy one of the most memorable Final Destination protagonists. Then we have Ryan Merriman, who plays Kevin Fisher. I'm sure if you guys were watching Disney Channel back in the day, Luck of the Irish came on. You guys know who Ryan Merriman is. And ironically enough, Kevin's the type of character that thinks he's the main character, but really is just lucky enough to be the second to last person to die. He definitely has that early 2000s classic dude energy about him. Kind of charming, kind of annoying, but he's ultimately a good guy. And in many ways, he turns out to be the comic relief, oftentimes throwing out things like, what if we just skip town? As if death has some sort of jurisdiction or limit on where it can go. And then the rest of the cast is a classic mixture of horror archetypes. We get Ashley and Ashlyn, the overly tanned, self-absorbed duo who pretty much only exist to suffer probably the worst demise in the entire film. Then we have Frankie Cheeks, the pervy comic relief character whose fate is so satisfying you almost wish it happened just a little sooner. Then we have Louis Romero, the overly confident gym bro, and then there's Aaron Ulmer and Ian McKinley, the goth couple, because no mid-2000s horror movie was complete with at least one angsty existential character. So while most of them exist strictly as death fodder, the cast really does a solid job making their characters entertaining, even if you want to see a couple of them get taken out sooner. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and talk about the kills. Let's start off with Ashley and Ashlyn's tanning bed kill. This death single-handedly traumatized an entire generation. The second those beds start to overheat, you feel their panic. It's slow, it's agonizing, and honestly, it's probably one of the most gruesome deaths in the entire series. Then we get Frankie's drive-through disaster. You ever be so oblivious that you end up dying in a freak accident while being completely still the whole time? That's Frankie. The dude is literally jamming out to music when a fan blade lodges itself into the back of his skull. Bit of poetic justice if you ask me. Then we have Lewis's death scene where he gets crushed at the gym. Or what I like to call the ultimate I lift bro moment gone wrong. Lewis is so confident that he actually starts to taunt death while standing under a massive weight machine. Bad move, Lewis. The second those weights drop, his head gets obliterated. It looks like a pumpkin, proving once and for all that ego is the real killer. To me, the deaths in Final Destination 3 are a lot more meaner than in the previous movies. There's a lingering sense of dread before each one, making them all the more brutal when they finally happen. And the last thing that I really want to touch on is the ending of the movie. The Final Destination films love to leave you on a bleak note, and this one nails it. Just when Wendy, Kevin, and Julie, Wendy's sister, think they escaped death, Wendy has another premonition. This time, it's a train crash. And at that moment, realization hits that death was just biding his time. The movie then cuts to black, leaving us with that gut-wrenching feeling that nobody ever actually survives these movies. It's one of the franchise's most effective endings. No fake outs, no happy resolutions, just pure inevitability. So, where does Final Destination 3 rank in the series? While it doesn't expand on the lore as much as Final Destination 2 did, it absolutely delivers in the kill department. The deaths are some of the most memorable, the tension is high, and the addition of the photo cues gives it an interesting and fresh angle. Plus, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. That being said, I'd have to give Final Destination 3 a whopping 7.5 out of 10, and it could probably go a little bit higher just for making roller coasters feel more scary than they already are. This movie alone was the reason why I didn't get over my fear of roller coasters until I was already 20 years old. But now I want to hear from you. Did Final Destination 3 change the way that you look at amusement park rides? Do you think it's the best in the series? Or do you prefer the earlier films like myself? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my review, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and just remember, if you see a camera flash before you're getting on a ride, maybe just sit that one out. Alright, later guys.